Chapter 6. Lead, silver, diamonds, glass. They sound like they are cursed, but they're not. They're now of the chosen. That is, when they occur in metallic or stony masses that science has recognized as meteorites, we find that resistance is to substances not so mixed in or incorporated. Of our cursed data, it seems to me that punk is pretty damnable. In the report of the British Association, 1878 376, there is a mention of a light chocolate brown substance that has fallen with meteorites. No particulars given, not another mention anywhere else that I can find. In this English publication, the word punk is not used. The substance is called amido. I suppose if the datum has anywhere been admitted to French publications, the word amido has been avoided and punk used. Or oneness of allness, scientific works and social registers, a Goldstein who can't get in as Goldstein gets in as Jackson. The fall of sulfur from the sky has been especially repulsive to the modern orthodoxy, largely because of its associations with the superstitions or principles of the preceding orthodoxy, stories of devils, sulphurous exhalations. Several writers have said that they have had this feeling, so the scientific reactionists who have rabidly fought the preceding because it was the preceding, and the scientific prudes who, in sheer exclusionism, have held lean hands over pale eyes, denying falls of sulfur. I have many notes upon the sulphurous odor of meteorites, and many notes upon the phosphorescence of things that come from externality. Some day I shall look over old stories of demons that have appeared sulphurously upon this earth, with the idea of expressing that we have often had undesirable visitors from other worlds, or that an indication of external duration is sulphurousness. I expect some day to rationalize demonology, but just at present we are scarcely far enough advanced to go so far back. For a circumstantial account of a mass of burning sulfur about the size of a man's fist that fell in Pultusk, Poland, January 30th, 1868, upon a road where it was stamped out by a crowd of villagers. See Rept. British Association 1874-272. The power of the exclusionists lie in that in their stand are combined both modern and archaic systematists. Falls of sandstone and limestone are repulsive to both theologians and scientists. Sandstone and limestone suggest other worlds upon which occur processes like geological processes, but limestone, as a fossiliferous substance, is, of course, especially of the unchosen. In Science, March 9th, 1888, we read of a block of limestone said to have fallen near Middleburg, Florida. It was exhibited at the Subtropical Exposition at Jacksonville. The writer in Science denies that it fell from the sky. His reasoning is, there is no limestone in the sky. Therefore, this limestone did not fall from the sky. Better reasoning I cannot conceive of, because we see that a final major premise, universal, true, would include all things. That, then, would leave nothing to reason about. So then, that all reasoning must be based upon something not universal, or only a phantom intermediate to the two finalities of nothingness and allness, or negativeness and positiveness. La Nature, 1890-2-127. Fall at Petitdieu, L'Aube, France, June 6, 1890, of limestone pebbles, identified with limestone at Chateau Landon, or up and down in a whirlwind. But they fell with hail, which in June could not very well be identified with ice from Chateau Landon. Coincidence, perhaps. Upon page 70, Science Gossip, 1887, the editor says of a stone that was reported to have fallen at Little Lever, England. that a sample that had been sent to him. It was sandstone. Therefore, it had not fallen, but had been on the ground in the first place. But upon page 140, Science Gossip, 1887, is an account of a large, smooth, water-worn, gritty sandstone pebble that had been found in the wood of a full-grown beech tree. Looks to me as if it had fallen red hot and had penetrated the tree with high velocity. But I have never heard of anything falling red hot from a whirlwind. The wood around this sandstone pebble was black, as if charred. Dr. Farrington, for instance, in his books, does not even mention sandstone. However, the British Association, though reluctant, is less exclusive. Report of 1860, page 196, or 197, substance about the size of a duck's egg that fell at Raphoe, Ireland, June 9th, 1860. Date questioned. It is not definitely said that this substance was sandstone, but that it resembled friable sandstone. Falls of salt have occurred often. They have been avoided by scientific writers because of the dictum that only water and not substances held in solution can be raised by evaporation. However, falls of salty water have received attention from Dalton and others and have been attributed to whirlwinds from the sea. This is so reasonably contested, quasi-reasonably, as to places not far from the sea. But the fall of salt that occurred high in the mountains of Switzerland, we could have predicted that the datum could be found somewhere. Let anything be explained in local terms of the coast of England, but also has it occurred high in the mountains of Switzerland. Large crystals of salt fell in a hailstorm, August 20th, 1870, in Switzerland. The orthodox explanation is a crime. Whoever made it should have had his fingerprints taken. We are told, Anne Rec Science, 1872, that these objects of salt came over the Mediterranean from some part of Africa, where the hypotenuse of the hypnosis or the hypnosis of the conventional, provided it be glib. One reads such an assertion, and provided it be suave and brief and conventional, one seldom questions or thinks very strange and then forgets. One has an impression from geography lessons. Mediterranean not more than 3 inches wide on the map, Switzerland only a few more inches away. These sizable masses of salt are described in the American Journal of Science 3-3-239 as essentially imperfect cubic crystals of common salt. As to occurrence with hail, that can in 1 or 10 or 20 instances be called coincidence. Another datum, extraordinary year 1883. London Times, December 25th, 1883. Translation from a Turkish newspaper. A substance that fell at Scutari, December 2nd, 1883, described as an unknown substance in particles or flakes like snow. It was found to be saltish in the taste and to dissolve readily in water. Miscellaneous, black capillary matter that fell November 16, 1857 at Charleston, South Carolina. American Journal of Science 2-31-459. For a small friable vesicular masses the size of a pea to size of a walnut at Lebow, January 18, 1835. Rep. British Association 1860-85. Objects that fell at Peshawar, India, June 1893 during a storm, substance that looked like crystallized niter and that tasted like sugar. Nature, July 13th, 1893. I suppose sometimes deep-sea fishes have their noses bumped by cinders. If their regions are subjacent to Cunard or White Star routes, they're especially likely to be bumped. I conceive of no inquiry. They're deep-sea fishes. Or the slag of Slains, that it was a furnace product. The Reverend James Rust seemed to feel bumped. He tried in vain to arouse inquiry. As to the report from Chicago, April 9th, 1879, that slag had fallen from the sky. Professor E.S. Bastian, American Journal of Science 3-18-78, says that the slag had been on the ground in the first place. It was furnace slag. A chemical examination of the specimens has shown that they possess none of the characteristics of true meteorites. Over and over and over again, the universal delusion, hope, and despair of attempted positivism that there can be real criteria or distinct characteristics of anything. If anybody can define, not merely suppose, like Professor Bastian, that he can define the true characteristics of anything, or so localize trueness anywhere, he makes the discovery for which the cosmos is laboring. He will be instantly translated, like Elijah, into the positive absolute. My own notion is that, in a moment of super concentration, Elijah became so nearly a real prophet that he was translated to heaven, or to the positive absolute, with such velocity that he left an incandescent train behind him. As we go along, we shall find the true test of meteoritic material, which in the past has been taken as an absolute, dissolving into almost utmost nebulosity. Professor Bastian explains mechanically, or in terms of the usual reflexes to all reports of unwelcome substances, that near where the slag had been found, telegraph wires had been struck by lightning, that particles of melted wire had been seen to fall near the slag, which had been on the ground in the first place. But according to the New York Times, April 14th, 1879, about 2 bushels of this substance had fallen. Something that was said to have fallen at Darmstadt, June 7th, 1846, listed by Gregg, Rept. British Association 1867-416, as only slag. Philosophical Magazine 4-10-381. Excuse me. That in 1855 a large stone was found far in the interior of a tree in Battersea Fields. Sometimes cannonballs are found embedded in trees. Doesn't seem to be anything to discuss. Doesn't seem discussable that anyone would cut a hole in a tree and hide a cannonball, which one could take to bed and hide under one's pillow just as easily. So with the stone of Battersea Fields, what is there to say except that it fell with high velocity and embedded in the tree? Nevertheless, there was a great deal of discussion, because at the foot of the tree, as if broken off the stone, fragments of slag were found. I have 9 other instances. Slag and cinders and ashes, and you won't believe, and neither will I, that they came from the furnaces of vast aerial superconstructions. We'll see what looks acceptable. As to ashes, the difficulties are great, because we'd expect many falls of terrestrially derived ashes, volcanoes, and forest fires. In some of our acceptances, I have felt a little radical. I suppose that one of our main motives is to show that there is, in quasi-existence, nothing but the preposterous, or something intermediate to absolute preposterousness and final reasonableness. That the new is the obviously preposterous, that it becomes the established and disguisedly preposterous, that it is displaced after a while and is again seen to be the preposterous, or that all progress is from the outrageous to the academic or sanctified, and back to the outrageous, modified, however, by a trend of higher and higher approximation to the impreposterous. Sometimes I feel a little more uninspired than at other times, but I think we're pretty well accustomed now to the oneness of allness, or that the methods of science in maintaining its system are as outrageous as the attempts of the damned to break in. In the Annual Record of Science, 1875-241, Professor Daubrey is quoted. The ashes that had fallen in the Azores had come from the Chicago fire, or the damned and the saved, and there's little to choose between them. And the angels are beings that have not obviously barbed tails to them, or never have such bad manners as to stroke an angel below the waistline. However, this especial outrage was challenged. The editor of the record returns to it in the issue of 1876, considers it in the highest degree improper to say that the ashes of Chicago were landed in the Azores. Bull Soak Astro Dafra 22-245. Account of a white substance like ashes that fell at Annonay, France, March 27, 1908. Simply called a curious phenomenon, no attempt to trace to a terrestrial source. Flake formations, which may signify passage through a region of pressure, are common, but spherical formations, as if of things that have rolled and rolled along planar regions elsewhere, are commoner. Nature, January 10th, 1884, quotes a Kimberley newspaper that toward the close of November 1883, a thick shower of ashy matter fell at Queenstown, South Africa. The matter was in marble-sized balls which were soft and pulpy, but which, upon drying, crumbled at touch. The shower was confined to one narrow streak of land. It would be only ordinarily preposterous to attribute this substance to Krakatoa. But with the fall, loud noises were heard. But I'll omit many notes upon ashes. If ashes should sift down upon deep-sea fishes, that is not to say that they came from steamships. Data falls of cinders have been especially damned by Mr. Simons, the meteorologist, some of whose investigations we'll investigate later. Nevertheless, notice of a fall in Victoria, Australia, April 14th, 1875. Report of British Association, 1875-242. At least we are told in a reluctant way that someone thought he saw matter fall near him at night, and the next day found something that looked like cinders. In the Proc of London Royal Association, 19-122, there is an account of cinders that fell on the deck of a lightship, January 9th, 1873, in the American Journal of Science 2-24-449. There is a notice that the editor had received a specimen of cinders that had fallen in showery weather upon a farm near Ottawa, Illinois, January 17, 1857. But after all ambiguous things, they are cinders or ashes or slag or clinkers. The high priest of the accursed that must speak aloud for us is coal that has fallen from the sky, or coke. The person who thought he saw something like cinders also thought he saw something like coke, we are told. Nature 36-119. Something that looked exactly like coke that fell during a thunderstorm in Orne, France, April 24th, 1887, or charcoal. Dr. Angus Smith, in the Literature and Philosophic Society of Manchester Memoirs 2-9-146, says that about 1827, like a great deal in Lyell's Principles and Darwin's Origin, this account is from hearsay. This account is from hearsay. Something fell from the sky near Allport, England. It fell luminously with a loud report and scattered in a field. A fragment that was seen by Dr. Smith is described by him as having the appearance of a piece of common wood charcoal. Nevertheless, the reassured feelings of the faithful upon reading this is burdened with data of differences. The substance was so uncommonly heavy that it seemed as if it had iron in it. Also, there was a sprinkling of sulfur. This material is said by Dr. Baden-Powell to be totally unlike that of any other meteorite. Gregg, in his catalog, Rep. Brit Association 1860-73, calls it a more than doubtful substance. But again, against reassurance that it is not doubt of authenticity, Gregg says that it is like compact charcoal with particles of sulfur and iron pyrites embedded. Reassurance rises again. Perhaps Baden-Powell says, wait, Professor, sorry, my ear is itching. Professor Baden-Powell says it contains also charcoal, which might perhaps be acquired from matter among which it fell. This is a common reflex with the exclusionists, but substance not truly meteoric did not fall from the sky, but were picked up by truly meteoric things, of course, only on their surfaces by impact with this earth. Rhyme of reassurances and their declines. According to Dr. Smith, this substance was not merely coated with charcoal. His analysis gives 43.59% carbon. Our acceptance that coal has fallen from the sky will be via data of resinous substances and bituminous, I can't say that word, bituminous substances which merge so that they cannot be told apart. Resinous substance said to have fallen at Kaba, Hungary, April 15th, 1887. Rep. British Association, 1860-94. A resinous substance that fell after a fireball at Nahas, Bohemia, December 17th, 1824. Rep. British Associate, 1860-70. Fall, July 28th, 1885, at Luccan during a storm of a brownish substance, very friable carbonaceous matter. When burned, it gave out a resinous odor. Comptes Rendus 103-837. Substance that fell February 17th, 1841, at Genoa, Italy, said to have been resinous, said by Arago Everus 12-469 to have been bituminous matter and sand. Fall during a thunderstorm, July 1681, near Cape Cod, upon the deck of an English vessel, the Albemarle, of burning bituminous matter. I think I just said it. Eden New Phil Journal 26-86. A fall at Christiania, Norway, June 13th, 1822, of bituminous matter, listed by Gregg as doubtful. Fall of bituminous matter in Germany, March 8th, 1798, listed by Greg Lockyer. The meteoric hypothesis, page 24, says that the substance that fell at the Cape of Good Hope, October 13th, 1838, about 5 cubic feet of it, substance so soft that it was cuttable with a knife. After being experimented upon, it left a residue which gave out a very bituminous smell. And this inclusion of Lockyer's, so far as findable in the books that I have read, is in books about as close as we can get to our desideratum. That coal has fallen from the sky, Dr. Farrington, except with a brief mention, ignores the whole subject of the fall of carbonaceous matter from the sky. Proctor, in all of his books that I have read, is in books about as close as we can get to the admission that carbonaceous matter had been found in meteorites in very minute quantities. Or my own suspicion is that it is possible to damn something else only by losing one's own soul. Quasi-soul, of course. How much more do I got? I'm going to stop here. I got bread in the oven where I'm baking sourdough. So every 30 minutes, I got to go bend and fold. So I'll be back.